Hey, my name is Samar. I also go by Sam or First Time Panner. Any of those you want to call me, you can. This will be a video that was inspired by Steph from It's Just Steph, and she'll of course be linked in the description box, but I'm sure you already know who she is and you're already subscribed to her. She's another Minnesota girl who loves makeup just like me, so definitely subscribe. She's really fun. She's one of my favorite people to watch on YouTube. As you can see from the title, this will be an eyeshadow palette tournament, and this is part 1 of 4. Basically, when I saw Steph's video, I'll link her eyeshadow tournament. Maybe she has a playlist, but I'll link the first video in that series in my description box. But basically she was I think she was like inspired by March Madness, and she was pitting all of her eyeshadow palettes against one another to see, who would come out as the champion. And I thought the idea was really fun, but I could never do it until now because I didn't have enough eyeshadow palettes for it to be like even throughout the, like tournament. But I'm here to tell you I currently have exactly 64 eyeshadow palettes in my entire collection, which is crazy because that's way too many. That's more than anyone should ever have or could ever use, but I do. So I thought it was the perfect opportunity to do this video myself, because everything fits perfectly and will rank together in even numbers. So I split my eyeshadows into 4 different categories, and that was luxury or splurge, high-end / like mid-range, drugstore or affordable, and then indie. And of course not every eyeshadow palette is going to fit in these exact categories, but I just separated them all by those categories, and then from there I moved things around a little bit just so that I could have 16 eyeshadow palettes in each category. So some of these might be like, why did you put this in that category? But if you run into that, it's because I had to switch things around just to make everything fit so that these categories could be as even as possible and as fair as possible. And in each of these, I'm gonna have 4 videos in this series. Each one is going to be a different category, and I'm going to start with all of my palettes in that category against each other, and then go until the winner. You will see the entire category ranked in each video. When we get to the final 4, I am thinking of doing something special with the final 4 palettes, maybe doing like a look with each palette and then ranking them. I haven't figured it out exactly yet, but we'll just have to see how this goes. But stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy this video. I'm back with my last category, which is indie, and this is probably the one that I was most excited to do because I love my indie eyeshadows. And I'm just gonna say it, this is mostly Dose of Colors because 11 out of the 16 are from that brand. I have 11 Dose of Colors palettes, and I'm like 99% sure that's an indie brand. I didn't really check. Let's just get started because I don't have a lot of time. This video might be a little bit more speedy than the others. The first match is Dose of Colors Blushing Berries versus Kaja Forest Night. Of course, a motorcycle is speeding by. It wouldn't really be one of my videos if there wasn't a car or a motorcycle or a helicopter in the background. So the Kaja stack or the Forest Night, I call them stacks, they're bentos, but it has 3 shades, and I'll swatch all of them, and then I'll also swatch the Dose of Colors palette because it only has 5 and it's all matte. These are the 2 palettes swatched out. I'd rather just show you this than have to hold both of the palettes up, but I really do like both of these. I genuinely like all of these, but there are like pros and cons to each palette. For the Forest Night, I love that it's like super compact. It's really beautiful shades. The one thing is I've only used this palette once, and when I did, this brown, this cool like medium deep brown, was kind of hard to blend. It was a little bit patchy, and that's 1/3 of the shades in here. That's the only matte shade, so that was kind of disappointing. Other than that, I really love everything about the palette. The shades are so beautiful. If you've been watching the series or any of my eyeshadow videos, you'd know that this type of shade, this one in the middle, is like right up my alley. And then I also love this like super punchy metallic shimmer up here. It is so beautiful. And then we have the blushing berries, which it is so beautiful. When I first got this, I didn't think I'd be that into it because I don't really wear berry tones hardly ever. But I've used this a few times, and both times I absolutely loved the looks that I got with this. These tones are just so beautiful, every single one of them, including the black. I mean, it's just the black, but all of the shades work for me. They're beautiful and work with my skin tone, which usually berries wouldn't, and I love them so much. But it is just an all matte palette, and even though I do like all matte looks on me, I would prefer if there was at least one shimmer, but that's kind of like this entire line from Dose of Colors is just all matte palettes. This one definitely was one of the more difficult pairings because I feel like I like these equally as far as like the looks, or like for different reasons. Like I love the looks that I get out of this, but this one has like a more punchy look and like it looks more natural on me because it's nude. So it really came down to like if I was picking my favorite, I kind of thought of like which one I would think of to reach for more often. Of course, if I was thinking of doing a berry look, I only have like 3 palettes in my entire collection that have any sort of berry tones in them, so I would think of this just by default. But I hardly, as I was saying, I hardly ever do a berry look. So I think I would just like naturally, I would reach for the Forest Night palette more often. So I'm gonna pick the Kaja Forest Night Bento for the first match. Now we have 2 Dose of Colors palettes against each other, which is going to happen quite a bit in this video. But these ones are both the 5-pan palettes. However, this is the Bake Browns 2, and then this is Golden Hour. Golden Hour is one of their more like special 5 pans. They're like, I think these are limited edition. I don't know for sure, but it's the layout where there's 3 mattes and 2 shimmers instead of the like all matte palettes. This is what the Bake Browns 2 palette looks like, and I still have the brush in here. I've used this. This was in my, I honestly can't remember if this is in my No Pan Left Behind this month or if it was for July, but either way, I've used this entire palette. I actually have not used the Golden Hour palette, so I'm going to have to go off of like what I think this palette would be like. This is just a warm tone basic 5-pan palette, and then this is like the Bake Browns 2 is just a companion palette for me. I won't be swatching either of these because then this video is going to take way too long, because almost all of these are smaller palettes, and that would just mean I'm swatching everything. But this one was a little bit, not super difficult, but it was a little bit difficult because they're both like 5-pan neutral palettes, neutral browns. I've never used this palette. I mean, I bought it so I want to, and I will when it's in my No Pan Left Behind series. But I'm really like, I just think it's so beautiful. I think the colors in here are just amazing. I bought this full price, like I jumped on it. I did not want to miss this palette because I think it's so pretty, and like I keep saying, I haven't used it, but I think the tones would just work on me so well. And then we have the Bake Browns 2, which is only a companion palette for me. Sorry, my pipes are going. As I was saying, this is only a companion palette, but I feel like this is pretty much the best companion palette that I have in my entire collection, because it's like all of my basic browns that I would need to complement any sort of like neutral or like neutral color type look. Like I would just need to throw 1 or 2 of these on my eye and then put whatever else I'm wearing on, and this is a lot better than the Bake Browns 1 in my opinion. Spoiler, just because the Bake Browns 1 is like crazier colors on me. This one is definitely more neutral, which is what makes a perfect companion palette for me. It's just like subtle and works on me effortlessly, and I can pair pretty much anything with it. So the Baked Browns 2 did win this match and is moving on. The next one is a little bit sad. It's the Dose of Colors She's a 10 versus the Dose of Colors Marvelous Mauves. And it was sad because I already know which one is going to win without having to think about it at all. But I really do love the other palette. So first we have the Marvelous Mauves, which is one of my favorite purple palettes in my entire collection, and it's so basic, like 5 pans, all mattes, but it is so beautiful. I love using this in the spring. I just feel so pretty in it, and there's different like undertones of purple as well. So we have the super bright like lilac ones, then we have more mauve tones, and then like a deep purple to like deepen any look up, and I just love this so much. Again, I love wearing this on its own with just a matte look or as a companion palette as well. Yeah, I love purples, and I think this is perfect for spring, and I love the Marvelous Mauves, but of course She's a 10 had to win. This is one of my favorite palettes in my entire collection. This was in my If I Can Only Keep 10 Eyeshadow Palettes video. I haven't even used it this year. This is in my August rotation of my No Pan Left Behind, but I haven't even gotten to it yet. I'm wearing my Sigma Ivy palette right now. I hope it's not too bold because I'm meeting a friend later, but yeah, I love this. I just do want to make a note. I did say that this was the best black in my entire collection because it was super opaque and everything, like the blackest black I had. But while I was swatching, I haven't worn it yet, but while I was swatching it, the formula seems like it's changed. So that is one downside. Like this used to be like pure black when I swatched it on my finger. It's still coming off black, but now when I swatch it, oh okay, this swatch is a little bit better, so maybe there was like a film on top. But even this, like it used to be pure black when I swatched it, and now it's not. It just seems like it's deteriorating a little bit. So that is something that I did want to note. That's like a little downvote for this palette, but I just feel like everything else about this palette I love so much. I'm not gonna swatch everything because I swatched a lot of this palette in my No Pan Left Behind video that I uploaded beginning of August, but maybe I'll do some swatching of this later on in the video. I just love this so much. So it is moving on. For the third match in a row, we have two Dose of Colors palettes against each other. This is the Baked Browns one, which I was just talking about, and then this is the 9 Years Later. Here's what Baked Browns 1 looks like, and as you can see, this is what I meant when I said it's just more like drastic on me. You have the super light, I'm gonna put this one down. You have the super light matte shade here, which doesn't even work on me really as a lid setting shade unless I'm super light about how much product I put on my eye, which is kind of annoying to have to hassle with that. And then we have this one, which is super warm, and then this one, which is kind of like a light peachy shade, and this one is a different tone, but it's this exact same depth. And then we have the standard dark brown, but yeah, I do like this palette, which is why I bought it, but it's definitely not nearly as useful just to me personally as the Baked Browns 2, which is why I don't get as much use on this, except for when it was in the No Pan Left Behind project. And then we have the 9 Years Later, which formula wise is my least favorite Dose of Colors palette. In order of favorite formulas from them, I would say the She's a 10 palette is my very favorite formula from them. Other than that one black, I'm gonna have to see how it's still performing, but this is the best formula. Then it's the 5 pans, and then this one. This doesn't have a bad formula at all, and I've said this before, but just compared to the other formulas or formulae from Dose of Colors, this is definitely lowest, but I do still like it. And even when it was in my No Pan Left Behind project, I discovered a newfound love for this because I kind of discredited it before, but then I used it in different ways and realized that I really love this palette so much that I would even consider having this as a pan that palette for myself in the future, and I'm gonna swatch one shade. This shade right here, I think it's called Cheers. The names are on the back and it's hard to figure out which is which, but this shade Cheers is so pretty. It's a duochrome and the flip isn't super intense like a Terra Moon shadow or anything, but it is so pretty and it's nice for like a subtle everyday look but still having something interesting on your eyes, and I just love it so much. And then you also have like your basic nudes, like a lid setting shade, mid-tone shade, and then a deeper shade, and then you have like your pink, your champagne, the Cheers shade, and then you have like a few pops up here. So 9 Years Later is winning, just in case you didn't see that coming. For the 5th round, we have Nabla Wild Berry Cutie palette versus Dose of Colors Smoky Soiree. This is what these two palettes look like, and admittedly I haven't used either of these very often. I've only used this one a few times back when I very first got it, and it hasn't been in my No Pan Left Behind series yet this year, so I haven't used it since maybe early 2022, unfortunately, but at the time it was my favorite palette. Then we have the Wild Berry, which I've only used once, for this shade in the bottom corner, Alchemy 2.0, that shifty shade, and I have not used this palette in so long that I totally forgot there was a dark matte purple in here. I said in one of my videos, I think it was my No Pan Left Behind series, that I was glad I had the Juvia's Place Berries palette because it was my last deep matte purple in my entire collection, and I totally forgot about this one, but I haven't even used it yet, so I really don't have any thoughts about anything other than Alchemy 2.0. Here's what both of the palettes look like swatched out. This is that Alchemy shade. It is so beautiful in the inner corner. Actually, the one time I used it with the Blushing Berries palette as my inner corner highlight. It is like stunning. And this is the Wild Berry palette. This is Smoky Soiree. Really pretty colors as well. I love this shade right here. This blue shade right here, it has like a slight shift, and it is just so pretty, especially on top of the other shadows. Despite me only using one shade, the Wild Berry palette is going to move on. I still really like this palette and I have fond memories of it. This is from a time when I was first starting to get into eyeshadow, and it was my favorite palette at the time just because I loved not only the formula, it was like the first time ever trying the Dose of Colors formula with this palette. So like I do appreciate this palette for that. But also just like getting into the shades and doing something more like interesting and creative with my eyeshadow, because these colors aren't necessarily like easy to put a look together. So I just don't have the same excitement over this palette as I once did, and even though I don't use this as often, I think once I do start using it, I will. This is just, I can't say, this is just in the moment. I do anticipate that I will be more excited to use this palette once I get into it. It has different textures and tones. Like this one is a satin shade, and I have almost no satins in my collection, so I'm so excited about this palette. And even just for the Alchemy 2.0, I love this so much, so this is moving on. Now we have Dose of Colors Cutting Edge versus Kaja Mauve Bouquet. So we have another little stack with just 3 colors, and then we have this like pukey murky green olivey 5-pan palette. This is another one of those, just like the Smoky Soiree that has, and the Golden Hour that has the 3 mattes and 2 shimmers. I've never used this one. Yeah, just like Golden Hour, I haven't used this at all. Spoiler, I think this is going to be in my No Pan Left Behind series next month, so it was a shame that this couldn't have waited just one more week, but here we are. I love the color story of this so much, which is why I bought it. I haven't used it though, so I can't even really say that, can I? But yeah, I bought this end of 2021, still have yet to use it. This is earlier in Deck of Panning, maybe like update 1. I got the prompt "Oh the shame," and I was going to put this in for that prompt, but I was literally so embarrassed that I hadn't used it that I just didn't even pull it in, and then I just kept on not using it. So this is really bad, but I do love the tones in this so much, and I'll swatch this one out as well as swatch out the Mauve Bouquet. These are the 2 palettes swatched out. So this is Mauve Bouquet, the 3 different shades, and then these are the 5 shades of the Cutting Edge palette. And honestly, okay, seeing these swatched out, okay, they're both stunning. I love the color stories of both of these. I think I'm gonna do a live decision swap, because originally I had my Mauve Bouquet palette win, just because I was like, well, if I've never reached for the Cutting Edge, do I really like it that much? But seeing these swatched out has just like ignited a new passion, you know, a new zest for the palette in me. And I think I'm actually gonna pick the Cutting Edge palette because these tones are so beautiful. And you know, I like green and gold together, and that's what this palette is, with a warm brown thrown in as well. So you can do different types of looks, or theoretically, because I wouldn't know, but I could probably get like multiple looks out of this one palette, and I can only get one look out of the Mauve Bouquet, even though I really love it. It's so pretty for like a quick, easy, simple look. I'm actually gonna go for the Cutting Edge this time. Second to last match of the first round, and we have Dose of Colors Pretty Cool versus Cindy Gray's Mountain Trail. I almost forgot the brand name. First, let's talk about the cover art. Is that what you call it? I don't know. The like packaging art of the Mountain Trail palette. This is what got me interested in the palette in the first place, and then I looked at the shades and I was like, oh, okay, those are my types of tones. But this is so beautiful, and I love mountains. Anyway, this is what the inside of the palette looks like, in case you haven't seen it. I think this is discontinued now, along with the California Coast, which is unfortunate because I was gonna buy the California Coast. But anyway, this palette, like I just said, I love green and gold, and this palette has that, plus the warm browns, just like the Cutting Edge. It is so beautiful. Like this shade Escape and this shade Light My World, so beautiful. Here they are swatched. They kind of look similar, but like opposite shifts. And then this shade Be the Sunshine here, it looks like just a super yellow, kind of like gaudy gold, but then it has a green shift, and it is so pretty, and I like to wear it over the dark green in the palette, and the shift, it brings out the shift even more. It is so beautiful. But then we have the Pretty Cool palette, which is like my favorite cool tone neutral palette, or like one of them in my entire collection, minus the like Mary Jane palette. This would have to be the other one. This, as far as like purple toned cool tone neutrals, this is my favorite. This is the palette that got me into cool tones, because when I bought this in like late 2021 in the pack with all of the other Dose of Colors 5 pans, I thought I was never going to use this, because at the time I thought, because I had warm, I've talked about this so many times, but because I have warm tones, I thought I could only wear warm tone eyeshadow, and the purple undertones in this instead of gray undertones is what really made this flattering on my skin tone and got me into cool tones. And now I just love wearing cool tones. I'm literally wearing navy blue on my eyes right now. They're just like brown swatches, but these are so beautiful to me. Like, I love them so much. And it is difficult, well, I mean, it's not that difficult, but these are very different palettes, so it was kind of hard to like judge each of them based on their qualities, because they're so different. Like, this is a super vibrant like gold green warm brown palette with mattes and shimmers, and then this is like an all matte 5-pan companion palette. And you would think this one probably wouldn't win because it is such a basic companion palette. I just love this one so much, and I love the tones in here, but I have so many greens and golds and warm browns in my collection that this isn't unique enough for me to think about on its own unless it's like in a project. So of course I have to go with the Pretty Cool palette, and these are the only tones like these in my collection. This is very unique in my collection. I am thinking about getting the Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge palette. I've been wanting that since it came out last holiday season, so hopefully it goes on sale this year. But I also have a Sephora gift card, so I think I'm just gonna buy it anyway. But until I do, these are the only purple toned, cool tone neutrals in my entire collection, so this has to move on. I would literally be so sad if I didn't have this in my collection anymore. Last up is Dose of Colors Sassy Siennas versus Kaja Ginger Snap. I think Ginger Snap is no longer being made. I have no idea why, because it's such a pretty color story. But again, it's just one of these 3-shade bentos with the, for me, a lid setting shade, then like an all over lid shimmer and a dark brown, or like medium dark brown warm matte. And then Sassy Siennas, again another all matte 5-pan from Dose of Colors, and this is like just all warm tones. Some of them are like more earthy, and then we have this just like vibrant orange here, which is kind of random in the palette, and then we have this like orangey toned peach. These are definitely my tones because I love orange, all shades of orange. It has the grungy ones for like, those are just my favorite tones to wear, but then also bright orange in general just makes me so happy, and I love wearing bright orange on like a nice summer day, late spring. Here are some swatches from the palette. I had to start swatching on this hand because this one is completely stained, and I have like no clean spaces on my little rag I was using to wipe swatches. But anyway, these are from the Sassy Siennas. We have that super bright orange, and then that like grungy brownie orange shade here, and here's the Ginger Snap. So these are the 3 shades, and the tones are really beautiful, but I've never used either of these palettes, so that shame on me. It's embarrassing, just like the Cutting Edge, because I bought this in that same pack, and then I bought this Kaja Bento maybe like almost 2 years ago now at this point. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing, but you know, I haven't used either of these, so I just have to kind of go off the vibes. So anyway, now that we got that out of the way, this one is actually pretty difficult because this one would be like so nice for just like going on a weekend trip and you just want a little like simple warm tone eyeshadow look. You can just do these, or I can just do these 3 colors really easily, really quickly. And then this one, if I needed like an orange companion palette for whatever reason. Let me just say I didn't have too much info going into this match for either of these palettes, so I just chose which one I felt like more drawn to, and that was Sassy Siennas. So yeah, that one's moving on, and now we're on to the next round. I tried wiping as much of the swatches off of my hands and my fingers as I can, but things are looking kind of stained. Also, Rosie just jumped on my bed, so if you hear rustling, that's her. But round 2, first match, is the Big Browns 2 versus the Forest Night. As a little reminder, here is what the palettes looked like. This is the little bento, so cute. To keep a long story short, Big Browns 2 is winning. Just because even though I think this is so beautiful, like this all over lid shade, this like metallic shimmer here, such a beautiful shade. It's like one of the main reasons I bought this palette as a whole, but like it's not enough to like justify winning over the Big Browns 2, which is probably my most useful companion palette in my entire collection, because even though I love the, like, I could always use the Sassy Siennas or the Pretty Cool, I feel like this one is so like middle of the road, this one is so middle of the road neutral, and it has such good tones for me that I feel like this is the most useful companion palette. And I always think about this one. I don't use companion palettes often, but when I need one, I think about either this one or the Blues Beauty from Sephora pretty much like 90% of the time. So this one is moving on, and yeah, I could like, even though this isn't about decluttering, I could never part with this, so it has to win this match. Now another Dose of Colors battle. This is the 9 years later versus the She's a 10. This was their 9-year anniversary. I'm holding this backwards, okay. This was their 9-year anniversary palette, and this was their 10-year anniversary palette, just in case you're wondering. You probably weren't. This is a reminder of what they look like, and last round I was saying that I love this for like super easy, simple, everyday looks, but with like a pop of just something extra. And then this one is like beautiful formula, beautiful shades, like every single one of these shades is up my alley. And I'm sure you already know which one is gonna win, but I really do love this palette. I cherish it a lot, but of course the She's a 10 has to win. This was like nowhere near close to touching this palette in terms of like what I really value. Then we have the Wild Berry palette versus the Cutting Edge palette. Here they are side by side, and I honestly feel like these give kind of the same vibe, just different colors. Like this is a really beautiful, like clearly green palette, but different tones, different shades, different textures. And this is like the same thing, but just with berries and purples. And I'm gonna have to do like another live pick because I switched this as the winner for the match it was in the first round. So if I had to choose which was a favorite, I think like just based on the fact that I've never used this one should win. And also there's 6 shades in here instead of 5, and even though I probably could get, like I haven't used either of these extensively, I probably could get the same amount of looks out of both of these. This one just really intrigues me. Like I saw this in store when I was at a Morphe like years ago, and I bought it because I just like was entranced by it, and I'm really excited to use this palette in the future, like in the future 2024. So Wild Berry is winning for now. Then we have 2 of these all matte 5 pans from Dose of Colors, and you should already know which one is winning. I've literally never used this palette, and even though orange is my favorite color and I love all the tones in here, theoretically, because I never used it, but Pretty Cool will like always win over any other one of these little 5-pan palettes from Dose of Colors. Is that a spoiler? No, I don't think it is. Round 3, and we're back with 2 Dose of Colors palettes. Yet again, as like half of this video has been. Sorry if you hear Rosie in the background. She's getting restless because she wants attention. But we have the She's a 10 versus the Baked Browns 2. And theoretically, this one should be difficult because this is a palette that I love and cherish so much. And is like right up my alley. And then this one is like one of the most useful palettes in my entire collection because it is such a great companion palette for me. And the formula on these, both of these, is really amazing. And this is more utilitarian. Like I would be kind of hurting if, not that this is decluttering, but I would be hurting if I didn't have this palette in my collection, because the only comparable palette that I'd have is the Milani Whiskey Business, and that's like a little drugstore plastic packaging palette, which I'd much prefer to have this one. But the She's a 10 is gonna get it, and hopefully if you've been paying attention, you probably knew that was gonna happen, because I love this so much. I will literally never declutter this until it like completely dies on me. You know, God forbid mold starts growing. Let me do some swatching because I keep going on and on about this palette, but I haven't swatched anything other than that one questionable black shade. So look at this. It is so pretty. Like this is how, other than the black, this is how all the mattes in this palette are. Incredibly buttery and opaque, but super blendable. And then we have these metallics. Oh, I think I just got a little swatch on there, but look at this blue. I'll keep doing it. I'm just a mess. I'm trying to be quick. But, and then we have these neutrals. They're just so pretty. Like I keep saying, these colors, like the color story, right up my alley. And then you have the formula just to back it up even more. So yeah. Anyway, shall we move on to the next and final match of round 3? Now we have the Pretty Cool palette versus the final non-dose of colors palette in this category, which is the Wild Berry palette. And I'm proud of this palette. Also a little bit embarrassed that this palette made it so far with me only ever using one shade in here once. Bizarre, my reasoning may be flawed, but it's my reasoning. So I'm just gonna save all the drama in this one because you've seen it before and I need to hurry up. But Pretty Cool is winning. Yeah, I think this is so beautiful and I'm really excited to use it, but there's like almost nothing that could compare to the Pretty Cool palette as far as like the love that I have for it in my heart. This is definitely like top favorite palettes in my entire collection, which is what this entire tournament is about. But now in this final round, the real question is, what is the true favorite? So we have that Pretty Cool palette and then the She's a 10 palette. Which one do you think is gonna win? Because like I actually struggled. There was a winner at the end, there had to be a winner at the end, but I really did struggle because these two palettes for me are so different, but both amazing, like both excellent formulas. This one, like I said, is just a tiny bit greater of a formula, but that's by like 1%. These like both are so beautiful, opaque, easily blendable. I love all the tones and like all the tones and all the shades in both of these palettes. This one very useful as a companion palette, and this one as just like if I had to build a perfect palette, it would pretty much look and feel exactly like this. So even though it really hurts my soul, even just like in this theoretical bracket, it really hurts my soul to do this, but I have to get rid of the Pretty Cool palette from this tournament and let the She's a 10 palette win, which is so sad because this palette was a complete game changer and still is for me. Incredibly unique, not only in my collection but in almost every eyeshadow that there is on the market today. But like I said, if I had to create my own perfect palette, it would be almost identical to this palette. I love it so much. So final category of my palette tournament in D, Dose of Color She's a 10 won. Are we excited? Do we think something else should have won? Either way, this is going to meet up with the other 3 palettes, the Melt Mary Jane, Sigma Ambiance, and then the Sephora Dahlia palette. They're gonna battle it out. But that's for the next video. We'll see what I end up doing for that one because I want to make it an exciting video since it's going to be the last one and I'm only going to have 4 palettes to talk about. But yeah, we have our 4 winners for now, and I'm really excited. This has been a lot of work for me, but it's been so fun and I've really enjoyed doing this series. Potentially I'll do it again next year. But I am so happy with this. Thank you so much for watching and putting up with my inconsistent uploading. But I will see you hopefully next week for the final episode in this tournament. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in my next video. But until then, see ya.